CK, the Raisin Man.
We are back, man. We are back here to talk about the Indianapolis Colts, man. Anthony Richardson, Shane Steichen, Richardson, of course, dealing with some things. Dealt with some injuries last year, and it hasn't started off well with Anthony Richardson and the Colts. And there are some questions. There are some legit questions there. Now, the Colts, to their credit, didn't have as bad as a season as you might think, given the fact that their starting quarterback was injured most of the year. They were still 8-9. Even being 8-9, though, Vegas Bet MGM has them only projected to win 7.5 games this year. And we'll get into the schedule later, but strength of schedule ranking 25th right now, so towards the bottom of the league. So they have an opportunity here to get better. Whenever you have a sort of a last place schedule, that's the NFL giving you an opportunity to get better, improve your ball club, and get some more wins this year. But 8-9 was pretty good for the Colts. What did you see out there last year, fellas? And is this what's up with AR-15, man? What's up with Anthony Richardson, man? Is he the guy? I think that's the thing the Colts have to ask themselves. Is this the guy, or are they going to be in a quarterback search here pretty soon? Y'all talk to me about the Colts.
This Colts team, it's real simple, man. You gotta find out Anthony Richardson is the guy. Struggled mightily with his accuracy and just playing the quarterback position in general. I tried to tell people this before he was actually drafted that high by the Colts, that he wasn't ready. I'm a Florida Gator fan. I've seen it. Can he do some amazing things because he's just uberly talented and just a superior athlete the most? Yeah. But that don't matter in the NFL. You got defensive ends running just as fast and faster than what he's running. So, and they're bigger. So, and he's hurt again. Yeah. So you're gonna have to find out what you got in this kid, Anthony Richardson, real quick. And when it comes to quarterbacks, it's good to cut your losses early. If you put the talent around them and they still are not projected to what you want them to be, and he's often injured. He's injured again. So that's leaving an opportunity for other quarterbacks to come in and step in and have to be the leader of the team. So the Colts, to be honest with you, the only thing I really see them got going for themselves is Jonathan Taylor, because they had one of the worst defenses last year too. They let us put up 50 points almost. So,
oh man,
it's ridiculous. But go ahead, Coach.
You're right, bro.
To say on them, bro.
The Colts, number one, is going to be about defense. 435 points over the whole season. That's roughly about 26 points. You scored about 22 points a game, 320 points a game. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong team. 427, and you scored 377. So, it's a differential of 50 points, but, that goes a long way, especially in the NFL. So they definitely need improved quarterback play. It can't be everything about, Jonathan Taylor. You definitely have to see what you have in the quarterback, whether it's Richardson or whether it's our old boy, Daniel Jones. You know, what are you going to get out of the quarterback play in Indianapolis? Now, it's just, you know, it's going to be interesting. Richardson, like you said, Pat, you know, being that he's from Florida, you said that he wasn't ready. You know, people talk about, oh, he has a cannon of an arm, but in the NFL, it's not about the cannon of the arm. And I don't know why people think, oh, well, he can throw it deep down the field. Well, you know what? If you can't throw it 10 yards in front of you to get a first down, what is going down the field going to do for you? And how many times do teams throw the football down the field, honestly, in the course of a whole game, 4 quarters? 5 tops? So, but you're going to throw more 10 yards, 5 yards, 15-yard patterns during the course of the game. That's where you need your accuracy. So, you know, that's the key to everything. So right now, to me, this team is going to be about quarterback play. So,
yeah. Speaking of quarterback play, the Anthony Richardson with 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions last year, only completed 47.7% of his passes, which is
egregious,
very, very low. As in comparison, his counterpart Joe Flacco, who started games for the Colts last year, 12-7, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 65% completion. So AR-15 getting outperformed by the backup is not what you want to see from your starting quarterback. But go ahead, Pat. You was going to say something.
I'm just egregious, man. Their quarterbacks have no anticipation. That's Daniel Jones included. They have no anticipation in their throws, and they're going to struggle. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see who the Colts lost last year via free agency. Joe Flacco, man, might have been able to use him this year. Played actually pretty decent, but he's out of there. Will Fries, Mark Lewinsky, and Ryan Kelly gone. That ain't good. On your offensive line, when you see 3 starters out of there. Dingbo went to the Bears on defense. And lost the kicker Matt Gay to the Commanders, man. But talk to me, man. Which one of these losses, man, you think is going to impact this team the most?
I say a lot of losses is going to impact them. Joe Flacco is going to impact them. Will Fries, Glowinski, and Ryan Kelly on the offensive line. That's crazy. Odin Bingo, Oldest Jambo, whatever. Deo. I'm just going to call him Deo. They lost him, one of their better defensive players. They lost E.J. Speed, one of their best linebackers. They lost Julian Blackman, one of their best safeties. And they even lost their kicker. Like, this is looking bad. This is looking bad, man. That's all I can say. They lost a lot of key pieces.
But, Coach, what you got, man?
I'm with Pat. You know, it's funny in this division. I keep harping on the same thing, the trenches.
Yeah.
All 3 teams that we previewed, the interior of the offensive line. And I'm not saying these offensive linemen were world beaters, but you still need to have some type of decent offensive linemen, which begs the question for me is, what do you have to do to replace this? You know, Will Fries, Jersey boy too, and then Ryan Kelly, his teammate, going up to Minnesota.
They both went to Minnesota. Oof. That Vikings line gonna be solid.
And if I'm not mistaken, they had a decent offensive line last year. Right? Am I correct?
The Vikings, yeah.
No, I mean
the Colts. Yeah, they had a decent offensive line.
So you have whatchamacallit still staying over the mainstay from what's his name from Notre Dame. I'm not forgetting his name. He's a Jersey boy too. But still, you had some decent offensive linemen. So why would you let them go? Especially when you have a quarterback who needs all the help he can get.
Exactly.
Richardson, he needs all the help he can get, and now you're bringing in Daniel Jones. And we know Daniel Jones definitely needs some help too. Now on the flip side, when Daniel Jones, when he gets going, then he can pick you apart. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to be able to, but he's too robotic and he's too rigid in terms of his passing game. So no matter which quarterback is back there, you need to give him the help, and it starts with these trenches. So, it just baffles me with this division how they don't understand that. We're in a division that we harp on it. Pat harps about that all the time. In the NFC East, it's about the trenches. Yep. Why in the AFC South they're not understanding? It's about the trenches.
Well, that's the AFC South brand of football, man. I think those AFC South teams, when they play each other, it's going to be a lot of games with a lot of points scored. Or it's going to be a lot of turnovers because the defensive line is getting to those quarterbacks.
I think that's what it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of turnovers and a lot of points scored by opposing defenses. And you got to think, these quarterbacks we love CJ Stroud, but he had a down year last year. We talked about Trevor Lawrence. This team has quarterback questions, and the next team we're going to preview is starting a rookie quarterback. So again, I think it's going to be hell for these offensive lines and these quarterbacks in this division. Just to be honest with you, man. But let's see who they picked up over there with the Colts, man. Of course, we talked about the aforementioned Mr. Daniel Jones, ex-New York Giant. Of course, all of us here are fans of the New York Giants, but just being, what they call the objective here, this is a good signing for the Colts. This is a good signing for the Colts because, you have somebody who's a veteran, who's been in a couple different NFL systems, with a couple different head coaches, man. And, Daniel Jones is somebody that's just going to go in there and work and do what they need him to do, whatever that is. So I think this is a good pickup for the Colts. Obvious protection for Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones does have mobility, so you can run a similar system that you would run with a Anthony Richardson. Not saying he's going to be Anthony Richardson, but again, similar skill set as far as athleticism is concerned. Now, Khalil Herbert, love this signing. Khalil Herbert, one of the more underrated running backs in the league when given the opportunity. They re-signed a couple of their guys. Oh, Corey Ballantyne still hanging around the league. I remember him from the Giants. But the big one here, man, is Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward, 3 years, $60 million contract. Cameron Bynum, another big contract, 4 years, $60 million. So the Colts definitely focused on their secondary here in free agency. But who's the key guy here, man? Y'all talk to me, man. Which one of these free agent signings is going to have the biggest impact? Kind of know which way y'all might be leaning, but go ahead.
Well, they're going to need Charvarius Ward to have the biggest impact. Sure. Signing him and Cameron Bynum from the Vikings to help out their secondary is much needed. Corey Ballantyne, very good veteran to have out there. I like the re-signing of Mo Alley Cox, and I like the signing of Khalil Herbert to give I just said his name, the running back, some help.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, some help over there. And Daniel Jones will be that veteran guy, to come over there if he has to play, and which is looking more and more likely that he is going to have to play. So I like the additions and free agency. Nothing flashy besides the Charvarius Ward. But you got to make sure his head's straight because he left San Francisco because of some things that was going on.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's okay.
He got paid though, so
yeah. So we'll see, man. But that secondary, that secondary is definitely going to have to step up for him, man. For real.
What about you, Coach? Who you see as the key signing here, or if you have a couple you could talk about?
I mean, you talked about Ward and Bynum, which are going to be key on that defensive side. Giving up all those points, that's going to be a big factor. Especially going up against teams like, the Chargers. I already say the Rams. Sorry, the Chargers and the Chiefs, they can definitely score points, in different ways. So you need all the help you can defensively, and Daniel Jones. I mean, we're already seeing with Anthony Richardson, the issues there, not only injury, but you broke it down in terms of his accuracy, man. I mean, when he's on the field, he's throwing more interceptions than touchdowns, and he's missing receivers, which you don't realize, or sometimes you forget that also demoralizes your whole team, because then the players start to lose faith and they start to lose hope, and they're on the sidelines and they're rumbling and mumbling and their frustration and so on and so forth, and that can take away from the whole team. Where Daniel Jones, while he's not Joe Montana, I think he's definitely much better than Richardson. So how much better? That's the question that needs to be answered. But and I always go back to the trenches. I mean, you resigned Pinter. What else have you done on the offensive line? It doesn't look like you did much. You lost three guys.
You lost.
Are you saying the guys that you had behind them, you believe that they're a step up? What about your draft? What did you do in the draft, to attack and help out, the offensive line as well as the defense, because we saw the issues there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I definitely think so, man. Let's take a look at what they did in the draft. Of course, picking 14th, they drafted tight end Tyler Warren. Picked up as JT Tumaloa out of Iowa State. Justin Wiley, cornerback, picked 80th out of Minnesota. Jalen Travis, offensive tackle out of Iowa State, who I personally think is one of the underrated draft prospects in the 2025 NFL draft. I think they got a steal there. The Colts did. DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State, should add some more insurance for Jonathan Taylor. And Riley Leonard, throwing Riley Leonard into the quarterback mix with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Yeah, basically. So they like those type of quarterbacks. But which one of these draft picks, man, do you think needs to have an impact right away, man, for this Colts team?
Man, it's going to have to be Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren's going to have to come in there and assure that guy that can move the chains and make some plays at the tight end position. I think Tyler Warren's going to be a guy that either one of those quarterbacks is going to love, man. You're going to see him have a Brock Bowers type impact, I believe.
Wow.
Colts. JT Tumioloau from Ohio State was a damn good pick. I do believe this dude, he's very well-rounded. He can pass for us as well as play the run very well. We know about Jalen Travis. Talked to him at the Senior Bowl. I think he was a huge pickup for them to help on that offensive line. He went higher than we expected, but you kind of predicted that when we was doing the draft. You kind of predicted that he was going to be picked up a lot earlier than expected. DJ Giddens, he gets a chance to learn behind Herbert and Jonathan Taylor. Riley Leonard, he'll be gone. I like the Tim Smith pick as well from Alabama to help out the trenches, the big fat sexies, as Coach calls them, sexy fatties. They had a decent draft, man. It's not like wow, but it's like you develop, you'll get a solid draft out of this if you develop, man. But Coach, what you think?
I mean, you're right in terms of their draft. Great breakdown. I love JT from Ohio State.
Man,
I mean, him playing against opposite on Sawyer on the other side, they were a dynamic duo. On that defensive line. Warren, he's multifaceted. He can do so many things. Heck, I've even seen Penn State at times use him a little bit as a quarterback a little bit, but so he gives you a little bit versatility. Wiley, coming from the Big Ten with Minnesota, fundamentally sound. You spoke about Travis. Definitely, definitely will help there. Giddens, development project. Leonard, I mean,
Exactly.
look, the kid has heart.
Yeah, he
You
does.
got heart, son. You got heart.
But really, everybody talks about Notre Dame, but he's really a former Duke quarterback. So
Yes, he is.
So Smith,
His
yes,
buddy.
big boy over there definitely will help. So and Waller, definitely going to be a key, especially on the special teams as he continues to hopefully develop. So solid. It's nothing to write home to mom about, but if you develop these players, there's going to be some talent that can help contribute. I would have liked to see, especially with the losses on the offensive line, maybe another offensive lineman, but you know how the draft turns out. So you're gonna have to wait and see. And what do you do to develop? And don't forget, the head coach might be on the short-term list, as far as coaches that people are watching to say, is he going to stay or is he gone? So, what are you going to get from the players? So,
yeah, man. What are you going to get from this roster? What are you going to get from this roster, man? Because I don't know, man. This roster isn't knocking anybody's socks off, man. I mean, I do like Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. I love Donnie Mitchell. I like the receivers. But again, that offensive line, man. Bernard Raymond is your start left tackle. Okay, good luck. Braden Smith on the right side. I don't know. Quentin Nelson's still there. Thank God for them. You got somebody there that can hold it down somewhat. But I think unless they can run the football, man, it's going to be tough for the Colts. And on defense, I just don't like it. I don't like what I'm seeing out there. Charvarius Ward was needed, thankfully. Kenny Moore's okay in the slot, nothing to write home with. Jalen Jones, Cam Bynum. You bring Cam Bynum in. Latu, Jalen Carries, Zaire Franklin are your Zaire Franklin and Carries as your linebacking core, and then you got Kawiti Pay and Latu on the edge there. On the edge. So they did need Tuamolu to help out there for sure. So hopefully he can give them some pop there, man. But this defense is not great, in my opinion. Just looking at the names, of course, they can always outperform their their status, so to speak, or their expectations, man. But it's looking like they're gonna get their butts kicked on defense, and their saving grace could be hopefully they can keep staying games with their running game if Jonathan Taylor bounces back and making some timely throws with those receivers, man, who are not bad. They're pretty good. Josh Downs is pretty good too. But what's your thoughts, fellas, man? I think it's gonna be hell, man, for the Colts on defense, in my opinion.
Yeah. Just looking at this roster, bro. They actually got Daniel Jones starting in front of Anthony Richardson. That's crazy.
These roster depth charts are unofficial, folks, but this is what we use until we get official depth chart. From
that offensive line scares the hell out of me. But they do have some weapons, and if you could get Daniel Jones in that, RPO type style. You got Pittman and Alec Pierce are the big receivers. You got Josh Downs in the slot. Adonai Mitchell to back those guys up with Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren. You could catch some people off guard, and running that RPO helps out that offensive line with Daniel Jones in there at the position. So, if you could get some solid, between the 20s play, but you have to worry about in the red zone with Daniel Jones because it's going to be with anticipation. So you have to worry about that. But I think they could be pretty good between the 20s. I'll be honest with you. As far as the offense, it's just scoring those points is what's going to hurt them. And then their defense, Kwity Paye is going to have to, step up. DeForest Buckner is going to have to stop getting hurt. Latu is good. Zaire Franklin is going to have to stop getting hurt. But their secondary, if Bynum and Nick Cross and Javars Ward play to their potential, they can have a decent secondary, but they're going to have to get after the quarterback. And can JT Tuimoloau come in there and help them out when he's replacing Kwity Paye or whoever other edge rusher that they have out there. So we'll see. But I am not excited about this roster. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you.
What's your thoughts, Coach, man?
After seeing this roster, man, I'm now having questions, man. I'm really starting to have questions about this roster and this team and this overall development. The trenches. Ryman, can he grow? Smith, I don't know. Nelson and Goncalves, all right, they're good. They're good guards. So you're going to keep the middle of the quarterback, what I always talk about, fairly clean. You're not always having a lot of pressure, because we see with Daniel Jones, when you get pressure in his face, he gets rattled. But if you keep him clean, so there's the opportunity. And then like Pat was talking about in terms of the run game, there's the possibility. But it's still questions, especially at quarterback. Whether it's Richardson or Jones, it's still going, or Leonard, if we go that far. It's still always going to be questions. So, and then defensively, it just leaves me questioning, especially if a team really gets physical and really just wants to run the ball, all game long or for most of the game, then it just, but if they can play well defensively, there's something, but I really still have questions now. So it's, I was a little bit, more optimistic earlier, but now I'm starting to become more pessimistic in terms of this roster and their schedule.
Yeah, man. It's not. Shane Steichen is going to have to do a wonderful coaching job here to get the most out of this roster. It just, especially on defense, especially on the offensive line. We talk about the trenches, but we also, got to mention the quarterback, Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard. Sorry, Colts fans, but you might want to just foul this one out, and this season, and just kind of look towards 2026 draft. It ain't looking good, man. But let's see if they can maybe pick up a couple games here. Let's check out the schedule. So starting off with the Dolphins, Broncos, Titans, Rams, Vegas, Arizona, Chargers. Couple games is winnable. Couple games I see probably definite loss. You got to go at Pittsburgh. You're at Kansas City, at Seattle. You playing Denver, who we all, think is going to be a pretty good team. You're going at Los Angeles, the Rams, and at the Chargers. I think all those are losses. So really, it's going to be a fight within your division. If you want to get to the playoffs, if I'm the Colts. And I don't know. Are they better than the Texans? I don't think so. But 7.5. What y'all got? Over or under?
Man, I got under. I think they get beat by Miami. They get smoked by Denver. They probably can beat Tennessee, but who knows? They might let their rookie quarterback go off, and we'll talk about them next. The Rams, I think they get smoked. I think they get beat by the Raiders with Geno Smith. I think they get beat by the Cardinals. They get beat by the the Chargers.
They just get beat.
Tennessee is up in the air again. think they get beat by Pittsburgh. I think they get beat by Atlanta. I think they get beat by Kansas City. I think they get beat by Houston. I think they get beat by Jacksonville. I think they get beat by Seattle. I think they get beat by San Francisco. And they might beat Jacksonville, and Houston might not have nothing to play for towards the end of the season. You know, I think the Colts are in for a long season, especially if they don't run that RPO with Daniel Jones at quarterback. I promise you. But what do you think, Coach?
NYG and I were having a discussion a little while ago about this, and I was very optimistic about these Colts. And I stand corrected after seeing this roster. I stand corrected. The start of the season is always, everyone is, hyped up and, there's a lot of energy. You're at home. I'm going to give that a 50-50 that they can win it. I'll be honest with that. But from there, I mean, it's when you sit and you really think about it, you put everything in its total package. The roster, I talked about the offensive line, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like looking at this and thinking about it, and I'm taking the under in terms of the 7.5. I have to take the under. I just, unless Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line just, pushes for 2,000 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I just really, and like Pat said, you get the RPO going with Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, whoever, and the quarterback adds something to a dynamic rushing attack, which I really can't see. I really want to believe in these Colts. I'm not going to lie to you. I do want to believe in them, and there is some talent there, but overall, the complete totality of this, I'm just not confident anymore. And then, of course, like I said, you have a head coach who may be on the chopping block. Especially if it goes the way I'm now starting to think. If you win 2-3 games, he's out of there, and they're going to be playing for one of those quarterbacks coming out next year, supposedly. So I'm taking the under.
Man. I'm taking the under 2. Colts could be headed for another top 5 pick. In my opinion, it's just, bro, when you got Anthony Richardson, who completed 47% of his passes. Mm-hmm. We know what Daniel Jones is. And Riley Leonard as your quarterbacks, bro, you're done. And your offensive line, like you said, Coach, I don't think is strong enough to really carry them from a running standpoint. And you make that team one-dimensional and put the ball in this man's hands or Daniel Jones or whoever, it's going to be a wrap. They don't have the horses to really, outscore teams like that. Playing that style. They're going to have to get it on the ground. And that makes it easy to defend. And you don't have one of those type of quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson or one of these dudes that's going to make you pay for playing in a box like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be good. I'm going under here with the Colts. And to be honest, their best chance is in their division.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even say that they got that sold up, because, we just looked at Jacksonville and we looked at the Texans rosters, and you can argue they got a worse roster than both of those teams, roster-wise. So I don't see it.
Play.
Yeah, and unless you're like I said, unless that head coach is the next head coach of the year and can coach this team, into the playoffs with this type of talent that they have here, he's probably going to get fired. They're probably going to be picking top 5, and they're going to be in a quarterback hunt next year, man. that is my prediction for the Colts, man. I hate to say it that way, but you haven't done yourselves any favors here, and Anthony Richardson is just not panning out, right now. Sorry for the kid, but like Coach said it earlier, best ability is availability, and if you can't be out there, and then when you go out there, you can't hit the broadside of a barn, it ain't working out, man. And I think they know that, and I think this is just one of those years. Like I said, Colts fans just gonna have to foul it away, man. Just chalk it up. I don't think it's gonna work out. I could be wrong, and that's why we do these preview shows. You guys comment in the comment section if y'all think we hate it, haters, or how y'all do. If you think we wrong or out of bounds or out of pocket, as I like to say, but I don't think so. I think we on the money. This is a bad team.
Yeah, last thing on the Colts, man. Rest in peace, Jim Irsay, man.
Man.
He did pass away during the NBA Finals, so maybe they have something to play for in that. Who knows? But
yeah,
overall, I think it's a wash.
But our last and final team of the AFC South, man. We're gonna get into these Tennessee Titans right